Remote peak hotel has grown substantially over the past few years, so much so that management needs to hire a systems administrator for ISM. Enter Ren Berry. Though Ren is new to remote peak hotel, she's no stranger to ISM, with several years of experience under her belt. We'll be following Ren as she implements advanced administrative concepts and functions in ISM. As the system administrator for a hotel, Ren uses ISM to do the following: design new concepts to address business needs, manage integrations, configure advanced settings, manage licensing issues, create new configuration items, and participate in system upgrades. For the past few days, Ren has been helping roll out Service Manager for a new remote peak hotel in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Today, Ren is importing hotel employee data into ISM from Microsoft Active Directory by connecting to the hotel's Ldap server. While doing this, Ren also plans to set up an external authorization login using Ldap and schedule routine Ldap synchronizations. From the configuration console, Ren selects Ldap Settings under Integration Tools. With the workspace open, she selects Add New and is presented with the Connect to Directory page. From here, Ren needs to input and test the directory server address and access credentials. After filling out the necessary information, Ren tests the connection. The connection is successful. To continue, Ren clicks Next. On the Select Directory Info to Sync page, Ren needs to define her root node that dictates where the data will be pulled from. She opens the root DSE folder and navigates to and selects her desired node. Once selected, Ren clicks Add Selected Node as Root. The node is now added. Before clicking Next, she also selects Select Sample Entry, which will allow her to preview records prior to importing user data from Active Directory. On the page, Ren needs to define the field mappings and the unique identifier. By default, the unique identifier is email. Though email generally works well as a unique identifier, Ren chooses Login ID. Next up, Ren needs to define which fields will be referenced in the employee data pool. During this portion, Ren calls up the hotel's server admin in order to identify the correct Ldap field names that correspond with the Connect field names she wants to include in the data import. Though she wants to use all the default contact fields that populate once the page is open, Ren wants to add a few additional fields. To do so, she clicks the green plus sign. After defining her new fields, Ren does a quick review of which fields have a default value assigned. Assigning a default value for a field will result in the system automatically assigning whatever value you have selected for that field. For example, for the team field, Ren has Service Desk assigned as the default value. This will assign every employee collected in the data import to the Service Desk team. This option is typically selected when an Ldap field does not exist relative to a selected ISM field. Next, Ren needs to define the contact roles. Defining this field determines what role will be automatically assigned to the users that are imported into the system. Ren wants all remote peak hotel employees to have the self-service user role, so she leaves it as is. The next configuration options are the advanced settings. There are two options Ren is concerned with here. The first is the Add Ldap login in server to imported accounts. This option automatically creates the external authentication during the Ldap sync. The second option, disable users who have been disabled in the Ldap compliant directory using the value of the fields, does just that. If a user gets deleted from the Active Directory, that same user will be put in a terminated status in ISM. Ren leaves both options activated. Before continuing on, Ren wants to preview the data. Clicking Preview at the bottom of the page, the Preview Data window opens up. Here, Ren can see a sample of the users that will be imported into the system. By clicking on a username, she can also verify which data will be imported. Satisfied with what she sees in the preview, Ren clicks Next. On the Exclude Items page, Ren doesn't need to exclude anything, so she clicks Next. To finish Ldap sync, Ren first clicks Synchronize Now. After the wizard finishes syncing, Ren clicks Save. Wanting to check to make sure the import was successful, Ren navigates to the Service Desk console, where she has the Employee workspace open. After refreshing the page, Ren can see that the new employees have been added. Ren then opens the employee record of Bob Dole and clicks to see if the correct data was imported. The import was successful. Now that Ren has created her Ldap, she wants to set up a schedule where the Ldap automatically syncs data between the Active Directory and ISM every night. First, Ren needs to publish the out-of-the-box Ldap sync workflow. Opening the Business Objects workspace in the Configuration console, Ren searches for the Schedule Entry business object and selects it. Next, she opens the Workflows tabs and selects the Ldap sync workflow. She then selects the Publish icon under Actions. The workflow turns green, indicating the workflow is published. The final action Ren needs to take is to set the schedule for her Ldap sync. Clicking on the search icon in the settings menu, Ren searches for and opens the Scheduled Jobs workspace. Next, Ren searches for and opens the Ldap sync in the Scheduled Jobs list. She is presented with the schedule for the Ldap sync. Here, Ren can adjust the schedule's time to perform the Ldap sync, how often, and several other configuration options, including start and end date. Satisfied with the current schedule settings, Ren's Ldap sync is set and ready to go.